Hello and welcome to this Dr. Frost Maths key skill video on finding the x-intercepts of a quadratic graph with equation in the form y equals x squared plus bx plus c. Now just to remind you what a quadratic graph looks like, it either has this U shape here, or you also get quadratic graphs which are sort of upside down U's, so kind of like hill shape as well. So it could look like that as well. And you can get a quadratic graph by just taking a quadratic expression like this. So quadratic just means there's an x squared term in it, and an x term possibly, and a constant term possibly as well. If we were to substitute in different values of x into this, we get different values of y. That's going to give us a bunch of xy coordinates, and we could plot those xy coordinates, and that will give us a line graph like this. Now what an x-intercept is where the line, the quadratic graph, crosses the x-axis. So this is an x-intercept, and this is an x-intercept as well. So they're called x-intercepts. They're also known as roots as well. So you might hear that term, roots. It's also known as an x-intercept. Now, what do we know about these two coordinates? Well, if any point is on the x-axis, the y value is 0, isn't it? So to find x-intercepts, we let the y value be equal to 0. The y value is equal to 0 here, and the y value of that coordinate will be 0 there. So we just need to make y 0 in this equation, substitute it in, and then solve the equation to find the possible values of x. So if we solve this, when y is equal to 0, that y there is 0, so we get 0 equals to x squared minus x minus 20. And now we've got a quadratic equation. And if you haven't explored how to solve quadratic equations like this, where you've got a quadratic expression on one side and a number or 0 on the other side, then please watch my video on that first. Now I'm just going to put a little 1 there because minus x is the same as minus 1x. It's nice to actually have a number there. And do you remember how we do this? We need to factorize this quadratic expression. And we find two numbers that add to give the minus 1 and times to give that last number there of minus 20. What two numbers add to give minus 1 and times to give minus 20? Well, minus 5 and plus 4. And what you do is you put two brackets with x at the start of each one, and then those numbers of minus 5 and plus 4 we found, you put them here and here. Doesn't matter the order. Now also remember, when we're solving quadratic equations, we've got a product of two things. The x minus 5 times x plus 4 equals 0. Now if two things multiply to give 0, we know at least one of them has to be 0. So if it was the x minus 5 that was equal to 0, we solve that. Or it could have been the x plus 4 that was equal to 0. Now, if we just add 5 to both sides of the equation there, we get x is equal to 5. So that's one root, one x-intercept of this quadratic graph. Or if we subtract 4 from both sides of this equation, we get x to be equal to minus 4. Do you remember the quick way of doing this is just negate whatever number's there. So we're going to get roots, x-intercepts, solutions of this equation of 5, positive 5, and negative 4 by reversing the signs. So that means here, that is going to be the minus 4, isn't it? And that is going to be 5. And we've found the x-intercepts of this graph.